Fulbright is
adventurous,
an incredible experience,
a really key part of American diplomacy.
The true purpose of it is to create mutual understanding.
It's rigorous.
It's what you make of it.
Fulbright is this incredible resource.
You don't know how much you're capable of until you're put in certain situations.
It gets you comfortable with the uncomfortable.
It really changes your identity. It gives you a new perspective.
I see it as like a chance to have a big adventure.
You embrace those hardships, you make it your own.
Fulbright is an academic cultural exchange program.
It's for Americans doing study, research, or teaching English for roughly an academic year.
I did my Fulbright in a small Pacific Island country called Kiribati.
And I went to London,
To Malaysia,
Belgium,
Senegal,
Jordan,
Cambodia,
India,
Singapore.
the Galapagos in Ecuador.
When I went to Trinidad, my research focused on girls in a juvenile detention center.
Trying to fight hunger and malnutrition in Ethiopia.
studied high-speed aerodynamics at a small research laboratory outside of Brussels.
Focusing on trivalent chromium and type 2 diabetes.
Working with researchers to understand the impacts from plastic pollution.
taught 5th through 8th grade students conversational English.
The whole point of my project is to create empathy and understanding and respect for Kiribati people.
It's a life-changing experience.
It's not just your grant year. Fulbright is lifetime.
Fulbright is for everyone. So that means that Fulbright is also for you.
Okay, great. So we're going to start immediately, and we're going to begin with our first panelist, who is Mr. Wingo Nansen. He is Mr. Wingo is he was a Fulbrighter, and right now he is a graduate assistant at the University of Illinois and a PhD student at the same university. Wingo is he's studying special education, and today he's going to walk you through the application form. So he's going to give you an overview of the application form. What we're going to do is that after each participant, we're going to give room for you to ask your questions. And then at the end of all of it, we are going to have a general conversation. And if there are other questions you have, you can start asking the question at that moment. And then also, we are hoping that tomorrow, we are going to be concluding with the Fulbright foreign students with a presentation on how to write an outstanding study research objective. So right now, I'm going to give room for Wingo to continue with a presentation of the application. So sometimes we take the application forms for granted, and we take some minor details for granted. So today he's going to walk you through that to make sure that you don't leave anything for granted. So over to you, you have the floor. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Nifo, for the introduction. My name is Wingo. We are going to look at the application, just an overview, because it is a process I believe all of you here, or majority of you must have been going through and you have seen what it is. So we are just basically going to do a point of, or highlight certain important things in the application that we really need to be careful of. So I will just share my screen. Oh yeah. Now the first part that always come out in the application where you have already created your account is this section of the application. So because I already have my account created, so my application is directly here, and I will open my application so that I can start from the first process. And the first place where you are always open to is the welcome first. It is important that when you are doing this, don't think of sitting one night and doing it overnight. That's where failures start coming. It is a process where you have to take your time and read these instructions as they are presented to you. Don't neglect anything on it. If there is a link, click on that link and read the information detailedly to get what it is talking about. Don't come down here where you have to confirm that you have read and confirm when you have not actually read the whole thing. Please endeavor to read the whole thing. If you have started filling your application and you did not read this, I will be pleading with you to go back and have a look at it again before you say, yes, I have read and I have understood what I am saying yes to. Now, the next thing is preliminary questions. And you have to know that within the Fulbright program, Cameroon has its own particularities. So you have to read and know and select the country you are applying from, because what may be required from there and what is needed from there might vary a bit from other countries that are equally involved in the Fulbright program. So we know all of us here who are applying, we are applying for the 2023-2024. So that one is basically everything that you need to do there. And you must understand that you have to indicate if you are a permanent resident or you have a dual nationality or you are a US citizen. So those things are taken into consideration. For me as a person, when I was applying, it was a no for me, and it is a no. So if you are, then there is no need to be thinking about the exchange program in US again when you are a permanent resident there. So, and you have to review and check what it takes to apply for this, because sometimes we don't check what are the eligibility criteria and we just run into, oh, this is a Fulbright program, I need to apply for this. And then you get into application and you put some stuff there, and when it doesn't go through, you will start thinking that something happened along the way. So each time there is always a space where they will always ask you to acknowledge something about what you have read. And so each time read those statements. I always say, read it line by line. Don't skip anything because you assume that you already know this. So for employment eligibility, you have to understand that if you have a close family who is working with some US organization or even with the US embassy, that makes the candidate ineligible for some of these things, especially the Fulbright. So here, I was filling this application myself, so it was a no for me. And for the reference material that you are going to provide, you always have to waive your right over it, because the people who are to review it have to do it with a lot of confidentiality, and you don't have to see it again, because the decision that will be made or that will be made from it will be an objective decision. It is not going to have any bias where you need to see. So when you are selecting your recommenders, I guess they are the people you trust, and you don't need to be wondering about what they are going to say about you. Let us look at our country's information, because we need to get this information, because this information is directed directly towards the Cameroon candidates that are coming for the Fulbright. So it is always good that you know what pertains to your country, especially when you are applying and you know, am I applying but for a master's program? What does it take for me to apply for a master's program? Are there other options? And if there are other options, what does it take? So it is important for us to get to read all these and look at what is needed to add to these things. And now, one of the things too that is important here is personal information. Sometimes people are doubting which one is my first name, which one is my middle name, which one is my last name. So what my advice will be, follow your birth certificate, follow your original documents the way your name is, the way your names are, and fill it out here. Even though the Americans, they may say your last name or your family name is what the family name is what they are going to call the last name. So sometimes you may see those changes, but when you are filling this, just follow the order in which it is in your certificate, so that you won't have any You won't have any worry about anything. And name on previous records. Maybe you are somebody whose names have changed, or you change your name at some point. You have to indicate that and provide that information. And it could equally happen when you get married and you have to take your husband's name. So there is that change. So you have to like provide that change of name and include it. So basically you include that information here. And then the basic information down here is just providing your date of birth, your city of birth, country, and then your sex. And that becomes very easy for us. So you choose your gender preferred identity as well and your marital status. For the citizenship information, we are all Cameroonians. So if you have any other additional citizen or permanent resident somewhere, then you have to indicate it down here. And then you complete it with your identity card number. Contact information. Contact information is one of the relevant parts that we need to consider. Sometimes we are wondering which information should we put. Sometimes if you don't have like a PO box address where they can mail your documents, what I will always say, if you are working in an organization and you trust that they can mail your confidential information or document to that organization, then you can use their address. Or if you have relatives that have an address where something can be sent or posted, then use that address. And for telephone numbers, always remember to add the country code. The +237 is very important. So always include it in all your telephones, on all the telephone contacts that you provide, be it for yourself, be it for your dependent, or be it for the people that are going to provide you with reference letters. Emergency contact, put your close family members whom they can contact. It doesn't matter where they are in Cameroon. Even though in Cameroon, we may just put their numbers and the city, even though there are streets in Cameroon, as we may say, even though we may not know it, but there are streets and they are labeled, but those that can be identified or those that you can identify, put them in. And then for emergency contact in US, if you don't have an emergency contact in US, that's fine. You don't have to bother yourself. But if you have somebody in US and you have their information, then you can provide that. But if you don't have it, that's no issue. You can leave the space blank and go your way. Now, another thing now is our curriculum vitae, the resume. When you write your resume, come back to this place and look at the prompts that they have given there and try as much as possible that all these things are outlined in your resume, because they will help you a lot, and they will help you a lot as you go further, because there are certain things that you will just need to provide, just extracting them from the resume and reshaping them and then including at certain points where they are needed. And when for the next thing, we talk about academic background. When they say your academic background in a reverse chronological order, some people say they don't understand what is reverse chronological order. A reverse chronological order starts from the highest level of education where you are right now, or the highest diploma or degree that you have right now is what you should start with first, then follows by the next lower, right down to, if the next lower is the first degree, if you have a master's degree now, then your next lower should be your bachelor's degree. And maybe the next lower should be something like an HND. And maybe the next lower should be something like your KPM or the teacher training. I don't think you don't need to include high school diplomas because they need but post-secondary school information. So you should not bother yourself about that. And for professional experiences, it doesn't. You have to start with what you are doing currently, what you have done previously, and follow suit to the lower level of the hierarchy, depending on how many occupations or how many jobs you have done so far. If in your job you have been given an award like the best worker and you have an attestation or a diploma for it, then you can always include that as some of the academic honors or the prizes that you have won. If you are somebody who have had other scholarships that are given within the school where you were attending, like in the university level, best student on this or whatsoever, or best student in cultural aspect, best student in this, and you have a certificate or an attestation for that. This is where you have to like put them for recognition. And if you are that person who have been publishing articles or books in your field, then you should indicate, you should put the reference of that article here so that people can go read about it. And if you have traveled out of Cameroon, that's also a great opportunity for you to share some of the cultures that you've learned out there and what you have in Cameroon. So you can like provide information about, maybe you've traveled to Europe, you've traveled to America or to Canada or to South America, or even you've traveled to our neighboring country, Nigeria, Guinea Equatorial, and the rest. You can share your experiences and what you have experienced there, and then shape it to like go in line with your objective of what you are applying, of why you are applying the Fulbright. Academic materials and transcripts. For this section, you know what you submit is always not official. So what you are submitting is unofficial. So you don't have to bother so much. You just need to make clean copies of this document and submit. Then wait for the next session where you will be selected. And when you are selected, that's when now you are required to submit the official transcript. That one they will request it from you and tell you that you should be contacting your institution for that. And now languages. This is another key aspect. For us Cameroonians, we are blessed with so many languages. And it is an advantage too, because when you know, I always say that learning a language, a new language, is a good thing. But the language that is yours, you speak it from the heart. And the English and the French that we speak, it is something that we are just thinking about it and speaking. So that one is a reasoning language, and there is a language that comes from the heart. So those don't always feel like you don't have to put your dialect in, so that, and specify it. If there is no, if it happens that it is not in this list, you put other, and then you write down the name of your dialect here. And you like evaluate what is your proficiency in your language in terms of speaking, writing, and the rest. And you go for English. And if there are other additional languages, because some of us can speak more than 3 languages, more than 2. So if there are other additional languages, you add it to your application. Now, standardized scores. When they talk of standardized scores, they are referring now to the English language proficiency test, the TOEFL, and the GRE. If you have had the GRE and the TOEFL, you should upload your results here. But if you don't have it, you are good to go. You just leave the space blank and continue with your application. You won't be penalized for that. And in the course of your application, you will be required to write one of those, or maybe all, both the TOEFL and the GRE. Now, plagiarism, academic theft. So you have to be careful when you are dealing with the intellectual property of other people. So, but I always say when you are writing your personal statement and your research objective, don't try to look at what other people have done first. Come out with an organic something organic statement, organic research objective that is yours first. Don't be tempted to go look at what others have done. Come out with yours first before you start thinking of ever trying to ask somebody or look for somebody to compare with yours, because your organic idea is better than what you go and get from somewhere else. And it is easy for you to present what is really yours naturally without any difficulty. Because when you happen to like, oh, I want to read examples of this before I write mine, the tendency is that you will start trying to think like other people and not like yourself. So you start thinking, but like other people who will not think like you. So you have to be yourself. Use your own ideas first. Use others' ideas just to add more value now to your own primary idea. Don't go and consider other people's work to be primary to you, and avoid, I always say, avoid trying to like use people's work and cite in your personal statement. Avoid that. Just use naturally what is organic and what is coming from you. All of us, we have had experiences in our fields, those primary experiences that we can like coin good things from it to write a very strong personal statement. That one will be discussed in the later presentation about like writing personal statement, but avoid plagiarism, copying without acknowledgement, because there are software that detect that in less than seconds. Now, study plan. Majority of the people coming from Cameroon, they are coming here directly for a master's degree. And when they say, what is your intended field of study? Sometimes it confuses people. People want to be like jumping without knowing the intended major field, because you have to look at it globally when they say the intended major field before going to a specific part. Okay, let me take like mine. I am education. So I am going specifically, what is your intended specialization field? It is special education. And when I say special education is still broad. So now I still have to like go now briefly. That's why they are asking you to briefly describe it. If I go now to special education, I boil down to applied behavior analysis in special education. So if I have now to talk about special education, I'm doing special education with emphasis in applied behavior analysis, where I work with children that have autism and other disabilities that stop them from communicating to other people and affect their learning outcomes. So I'm very specific that with the type of my group of students that I work with and what I am doing. And then for future plans, I'm going to just give a hypothetical future plan here. Upon completion of my master's degree in special education and with emphasis in applied behavior analysis, I will be returning back to Cameroon to work in the university as a lecturer and teach students, or I will be going to work in an organization as you give the title of what you are going to do. And when I will go there, I will organize things like conferences to like educate my colleagues who are there and share knowledge. And I will relate with the connections that I have made abroad while I was on my Fulbright program to like better up the standards of what we are doing and upgrade myself with current research around the world. And I will also organize things like symposium or workshops to help people do the basic things for these kids. Then intended grant periods. For masters, it is a maximum of 2 years, even though there are other programs that always run for like less than 2 years, because I've seen some people who come for MBA and they do it in 1.5 years and they are done. So there are programs that can run less than that for a master's degree, but specifically for Cameroon, most of the time it's always 2 years. So you have to put the proposed date. Maybe if you're coming in July to come and have a pre-academic something, then you put it here. And then the end date. And then if you are coming, but in August to come directly to your school and start, then you should indicate also. Study research objectives. Always make sure that your objectives are very specific and tied down to the specific field that you were talking about. Don't make broad statements, be so specific. And when you are talking about your personal statement, please make sure that you are saying what is just original. Original means it is coming from you. It is very organic. Don't try to like look at others to like bring it into your personal statement. Share your own personal experiences, because you are selling yourself. Don't try to copy somebody and sell as yourself. Then that doesn't work well and it might make it difficult for you. Now, writing sample. The question may come out for master students, do we have to submit a writing sample? I will say you don't have to submit a writing sample except you are a doctoral student. But some masters will be required to submit a writing sample, especially those who are going in for something like journalism, for journalists. But most of the time, you don't need the writing sample for master students. And you may want to make your university preferences, which is okay, but that's not a guarantee that those preferences you make are going to be selected. So, but if you don't make the preferences, that is still fine too. Have you applied, or did you apply to any US institution? If you have done that, then it is a yes. But if you haven't, then it is a noun. And here you have to like sign here with your name that you authorize the release of information about this your application and your results for the standardized tests that you have written. Now, grant and travel plans, financial information. If you ask me for these family funds, what I did there was I put nothing. So except you have that money and you want to put it and indicate it here and you are sure that you can cover up the cost in which they are asking, then you can put it. But for me, I will say, oh, why should I be putting that? I don't have. I'm not putting it. So have you been awarded or do you receive financial assistance from your institution or country of resource? If that happens, then you have to like respond to that. And you have to talk about your travel funds if you have it. What I will advise or what I will always look at is like providing just the passport of my dependents and the information that is required. I upload that information and indicate how many people, like if you are coming here and you know that your family is going to accompany you, maybe your wife and your kids, then you just have to indicate the total number of people in the family that are going to accompany you here. Now, this is just additional information. This is just supplementary information that you have to, if there are other materials which you think will add more value to your application, you can now add that here. And here now you have to take a survey of how you got the information about Fulbright. You have to maybe in the university, maybe from a friend, a relative, or maybe you just social media and the rest. So this one I just basically survey questions. And now, when you are done, you always have to provide information about, contact the people who you want them to reference, to write a reference letter or recommendation letter for you, so that they will do it. Contact them early enough. And when you contact them, when you contact them, make sure you collect the basic information like telephone numbers, emails, and the rest of the thing, and fill it out, because you will not see the reference letter they are writing, because when they will write, they will send directly to the institution responsible for it that will be filing application on your behalf. And now, if you are sure that what you have done is perfect and correct, this is the time for you to sign. So you can always sign here. And if you are not sure, don't rush to sign. I always say when you fill your application, give it some time, stay away from the application, and then come back to it. Don't always think that you can sit continuously in 2, 3 days or 1 week, and then you complete the application and it will really be a real quality application. You need to take time to like complete your application properly. So when you do this, just go back to review. Always review your application as many times as possible. If you look at mine here, all these ones are right, because I did not provide all the information that is needed here. And the good thing is, when you come to review, it is time for you now to go through your application, one section after the other. And when you are doing that, take your time to read it. And for things like personal statements, always have someone to reread it for you and hear their own suggestion. And remember that somebody who is reading what you have written is always right. They say the reader is always right, not the writer. So you write something and people are reading it, their comments they are making, they are always right. It is just like saying that the customer is always right. So somebody reading your work is always right about the comment they are making. So you just have to learn from that. All right. If there are so many, we will save this for later. So if there are some questions that you would like us to talk about, then let's discuss like where you did not understand anything or where you were finding challenges when you were going through your own application.
Yes, thank you so much, Wingo, for that very powerful presentation. I would like to say that if any other panelist has anything to add in, you can always come up and then you add in what you want to add. So Nancy, you're free. If there is something that maybe Wingo left out and you think you want to add to that, you're free to do so. Meanwhile, like he said, We are open to questions. If you have any question, you're free to do so. I see Chair Victor's hand is up. Unmute yourself and go ahead and ask your question.
Good evening, sir. I wish to ask a question on the duration of study, eligibility.
We lost him. We can't hear you. You are breaking. But if I got you, you were talking about the length of study and the eligibility. So,
I did not take
Yeah, go ahead. We're listening.
$4 years consecutively for the study. I had HND, and after I enrolled in a degree program, and then I moved forward to obtaining my diploma in teaching. So I don't know if I'm eligible because it's stipulated that you need a 4 years university study. I don't know if I'm eligible with my different durations of degree programs.
okay, you have a degree, right?
Yes, sir.
Good. So what they do is that you already have a degree. What they will be looking at are your transcript to evaluate your degree. So long as you have a degree, what they are not going to be looking at 4 years or 1 year, because people who graduate from Boya, from the University of Boya, is 3 years. It's not 4 years, but they take them.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So much. Thank you so much, Awingo. And I want to emphasize that our questions should focus on the application, the general application. If there is a section that you feel that you're a little bit confused as to what to fill in certain sections, you can ask that question right now. But for general questions, please reserve it till the end. We will answer those general questions at the end. If we start answering general questions now, we might stay here the whole day. All right, okay. Kufon Patrick.
Good evening, sir. Thank you very much for the presentation. I wish to verify when you talk about plagiarism, if I'm trying to reference somebody and I cite the person in the work, will I make a reference list at the end or I can ignore it? Thank you, over.
If you cite somebody, you will have to reference that person. But in the personal statement, there is no room for you to put a reference. So automatically, you are not going to include that reference in your personal statement.
And I think you as you rightly put it in your presentation, Wingo, that you should try as much as possible not to reference people on your personal statement, because what they are looking at in your personal statement, I'm sure Nancy is going to talk much about that. They want to see your own personal experience, and I don't see how you're going to quote some other person fit into your personal experience. So try as much as possible to leave it your original work and avoid referencing people in your original work and your personal statement. Any other question? All right, I see some question on the chat box. Oh, no, not a question. All right. So what is there any other question? So if there is no other question,
let me just address the question on the chat. Somebody says, I don't have an ID yet. How do I go about with the ID receipt? So I guess if the ID number is there, I guess it can go. So long as the ID number that will come on you in your normal ID. Then she said, any tip on how to name the label? PDF file. Always put, if the PDF file is a personal statement, just write, if your name is Tetu, you just say Tetu's personal statement, full stop. You name it like that. Then how do we include final year thesis that is not yet out published? There is a way to cite on published thesis. So you just need to like refer to your APA manual and cite your thesis as unpublished. Dependents, just immediate family, such as spouse and children. Yes, those are your dependents and your parents.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll give 1 minute or two to Nancy to catch up. While Nancy is catching up, I'll play one of the video for you. Oh.
My name is Nshalala. I'm from Montana, Pretoria, that's in the north. I did my undergrad in neuroscience in Stellenbosch, and then I did my honors in Stellenbosch. And at the end of my honors, that's when I got nominated for Fulbright. So I wanted to do a PhD in neuroscience because that was so complex. And then in 2013, that's when I left to the US to do my PhD in neuroscience, and it's a 5-year program. So I'm currently on my 4th year. I needed a lot of time to apply for the Fulbright program because it asked for a lot of things, and I needed to be sure because I could tell that it was sponsored by the US Department of State. And I also went out and I asked one of my professors, he was a Fulbright scholar, should I apply? What do I need? And he told me, Yaounde, this is a very prestigious program. They take only a selected few in the country. So I applied for it. It took me a while to fill out the form and everything else. And I had to find references. So references, I had to find 3 people, and it shouldn't be any other people. It was 3 people that I know that would have actually worked with me and would say who I am, my work ethic, how I work and how I interact with people. But I had to figure it out and put it in words that I felt like anybody else would understand me and understand what I want to do. Writing my career and research goals, and then also my personal statement. That took a while to write because I wanted it to be perfect. And then after that, I had an interview to do. So the interview process was stressful, but still good. If you're prepared, it'll be good and easy. After that, I got nominated, so I had to do my GRE. It's a very serious and competitive program. So I encourage people to make sure they know exactly what they want and know your plans, because you can't be saying you want to do some degree or program but you don't know exactly what you're going to be into. So be specific with your plans and your degree plans and your career plans. Choose your university based on what you're into, your research. Again, be very specific. You have to know what you want in terms of your research, the program, what type of program, and what it will give you.
Awesome. All right, so right now we are going to give floor to Nancy Tamor. Nancy Tamor is a Fulbright scholar at the University of Nebraska. She's reading health science. I'm not sure particularly what that is. I'm sure Nancy is going to correct that. Okay. So Nancy is going to walk you through the process of writing an outstanding personal statement. How to write a personal statement that is going to be competitive with others. We understand that the application process is very, very competitive, and therefore there are a lot of people who are applying. and if your application, if your essays are not outstanding, then you really are not going to have a chance. So Nancy is going to walk you through that process. So Nancy, you have the floor to do your presentation.
Thank you, Richard. And yes, you are not very far from me. I am a Master's of Public Health student, concentrating in epidemiology at the University of Nebraska Medical Center, which is different from the University of Nebraska. So yeah, I will just follow suit with what my big bro Nancy said, and just give you a little bit of details about what a personal statement is all about. And of course, I can't go to very specifics without giving you some kind of a general overview of what that is all about. And so I hope by the end of this presentation, it kind of gives you that roadmap to a winning personal statement for the Fulbright Foreign Student Program. So today we are just going to answer a few questions. That's what the presentation is about. Because I know you have questions, I know going through the process, you have a deadline on the 16th. So you're trying to get things together, and then I'll just help us answer those questions. And I hope at the end, it kind of brings some clarity to what challenges that you might have, and obviously ask your questions if you have those. And we'll just speak general about what's a personal statement, and then why does Fulbright even ask you to write one? And then what should that look like in the Fulbright context? I'd start general and then specific because I need to give you what makes it Fulbright really. And then kind of give you what will make your personal statement not scream basic, like not be like every other person's own. And then kind of a recap or some key or final thoughts that I have. So the personal statement in a very general note, unlike the statement of research, focuses on you. The statement of research talks about your field, a little bit about you, but the personal statement really is about you. They just want to know who is the person behind the credentials, who is the person behind the many things you've filled out. They need to see some kind of your personality. And that's why when Nancy says that be original, it really speaks to what the personal statement is about. And avoid quotations from Obama said this and that. Get inspired from those, but produce those in your own thoughts. So it's more of a self-reflection. To be very candid with you, to write a personal statement is self-reflection. And unlike your autobiography that you might do in the third person, your personal statement, you always write it in the first person, as you're going to see going forward. And then some misconceptions that you might have for personal statements generally. You would think that it's some kind of place to come and list your achievements or to replicate your CV. It's not a scientific article. It's not a place for catchphrases. It's not a place for emotional drama to come and tell us about something that happened to you and get too emotional about it. So it's a fair balance, right, of academic intellectual and personality or genuineness, so sincerity. So a fair balance of both. And it's not a place to list your GPA or your scores. I start that because that is not an embargo, like, no, you shouldn't list those. If listing that really supports your case, then you should. Now, why does Fulbright even ask you to do that? And this is just an excerpt from the application thing. So I just highlighted what should be or what characterizes the persons who will be chosen to go forward with the application process. It's a narrative statement. I can't overemphasize that. And others will say the same thing. It's narrative, it's storytelling. Many of us have gotten away from that over time. But Fulbright, why they ask us to write that? They need to just see your sense of storytelling, because storytelling is a powerful way of communicating who you are, what are your aspirations, which comes to the second bold highlighting that I've put there. So unlike the statement of research objectives that encompasses your education, your practical experience, and then your career plans, what adds to that mix is your special interest. So your hobbies, your involvement So everything that takes you as a person. So academics, practical experience, professional experience, personal experience, what are your interests and what are your career plans? And what has influenced you over time and in your journey of wherever you are. So looking at structure, I'm going very general as far as Fulbright personal statement is concerned. What is the structure like? Like I've mentioned earlier, it's a narrative. It's not a research article. Therefore, what does structure look like? Very simply, let me just preface by saying this. I got into the Fulbright program. I didn't have a lot of work experience. I didn't even work before getting the Fulbright. I think I did an internship of like a month or two. For others, they would have worked a little bit longer. So it's just to tell you this personal statement is as simple as it is. As simple as you look at it in the structure, you have an introduction. And that introduction, I cannot overstress it. Please avoid generalized statements, such as empty fillers like I dreamed of, privileged to be Fulbright, or those very honored to be Fulbright. Avoid that language. Avoid being negative. This is just generally, avoid being negative, trying to say, oh, Cameroon has this and so problems, and just basing yourself on all those negative aspects of Cameroon. Avoid having a very strong political opinion. That's not a place for you to come and express how you think politics in Cameroon run. Avoid obvious statements. For example, say, as you know, this and that and that. Avoid those kind of statements. Those are very vague and very common in most of the statements that you read. Avoid using quotes a lot. If you really must use a quote, and I really disagree that you should, it should really solidify what you're trying to say. And it should not take a whole much of your essays. And equally, avoid overusing the word I. So I'm speaking generally from the introduction to the conclusion before I get into those nitty-gritties. Avoid the use of I. I said it was in the first person, but you'll see going forward that you can actually write a story without always using I, even though you're talking about yourself. And then avoid passive voice. So how would I say that I was given? If I say I was given, that's a passive voice. So get into more active, demonstrative, like I say, that exemplify, showing, describing what is your experience, showing and describing what is the different things. So getting back to the introduction, I put there an anecdote because I'll tell you the truth. The personal statement is really made up of anecdotes. So anecdotes are really stories. They're not proven stories. So your experience is saying what you've been through. That's an anecdote. Nobody has written it and published it on any paper. And it has to capture a theme. So your introduction should have a general theme that you're trying to convey. If you feel that your personal statement should of course, you can touch upon different themes, but it should have a central theme. If you're highlighting yourself as a leader, you're highlighting your community that you're coming from. You're highlighting your struggles. You're highlighting how you beat the odds. You're highlighting how you found your way to your field of interest or where you are today. So your introduction really is the start of it all. A poor introduction, I tell you, no matter what you have written below, will not help you very much. And I put one there because it is a single, concise paragraph. And then the body comes to support that general theme that you have. Generally, a very good personal statement, I would advise, should have 2 to 3 paragraphs, full stop. It shouldn't be too lengthy. 2 to 3 paragraphs. And what these paragraphs touch upon, you can have a single paragraph that kind of talks about your past. So when I say unfolds the future from the past, it talks about your past and how it gets you to that future that you want to be at. You might have a paragraph that talks about a challenge that you overcame. You can have another paragraph that talks about how your academic, professional experience, because in your personal statement, you mention your professional experience as well, a little bit, but you must combine those, piece them together. Academic, professional, personal experience, how do they prepare you for what you're trying to do? And then you can include other sub-themes in each of those paragraphs. So what do I mean? Each paragraph in your body should have some kind of a captivating story, a captivating idea that you're trying to pass across. Don't mix up too many ideas in a single paragraph. And then the conclusion, you would see in an example that I'll show you. It's very simple sentences, three to 4 sentences. It doesn't have to say you're changing the world. And I'm very happy that Nancy talked about an example, saying that after his degree, he'll go and do this, teach and that and that. So very concise, brief sentences about what you would do after listing all your passion, listing all your history. What will you do afterward? So this is just an example, and I just want us to do a little bit of an exercise. And Richard, please, do you mind sharing your screen after this? My laptop is going to run down soon. So this is just an example, and this is a typical example from someone in Cameroon who wrote it. And I just want to give you the chance to maybe read through. This is an introduction. I just give you the chance to read through, and then please come on mute, anyone. I will just need 2 volunteers and tell me what is your first impression when you read this couple of lines. Just tell me, what do you feel? What's the first thing that you felt after you read this paragraph?
Okay, Nancy, I'll share my screen when your laptop goes off, because we both of us cannot share our screen.
Yeah, just when you're ready to share, I can stop sharing.
All right. Okay, let me set up to where you are right now.
Okay. When you're ready, I can stop.
All right. Yeah, I'm
Please,
trying to.
Why is doing that? Anybody who feels that he or she wants to say something. When you read the sentence or these few sentences, what comes to mind? What can you pick out from it?
Nancy, what slide number is that?
Let me stop sharing.
Nancy?
Yep, that's number 9.
Okay, slide number 9.
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. Right. So
can I stop sharing?
Yeah, you can. I think I got it.
Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Yeah, so I don't know if anybody is courageous enough to say something about, please, it's an interactive session. If you want to make a winning personal statement, you need to voice out what do you think is correct or what do you think is wrong with this personal statement, based on just a few sentences I mentioned earlier.
When you are not putting up your hand to answer, it looks like you do not follow up.
I think I'll just call anyone then.
Yes.
Okay. So, Ari Thomas Mange, please just say anything. What do you feel about this paragraph after reading it?
I think I have a Kalambi Claire. The hand is up, so please maybe we give.
Okay, good evening, sir, and good evening to everyone. It's actually a pleasure being here. So after going through this introduction or this personal statement, what I think, first of all, is that the way the person actually started, it's actually great because it shows that she is a survivor, she's a fighter. From the few sentences I see, it shows that she's a survivor. And when we go ahead, we realize that she decided, due to that event, due to that situation, she decided to use it to her advantage to help her community. So I think it's a great personal statement that will actually touch the selection committee to actually give her the scholarship. Or is a he?
So, thank you very much.
That's what I think.
And then, yes.
And then we have Nancy, do you want me to call 2 more people?
Yes.
All right. K2 Alvin.
You have been called.
Hi.
Hello.
Yes, K2 Alvin, please. We should be snappy. We have like
Yes.
Yeah, we have a few minutes to go.
Well, good evening, everyone. I think this paragraph is quite simple to understand, and as I was saying in French, c'est très digeste. And then you see from a very tender age her journey with that means all that the basic of public health and how it budded into a vision. Though I don't know the first sentence, I don't know if it's a nickname that was better than just a name, because I was curious if it's a nickname. But if not, I like the sentence and it's quite captivating. The paragraph is quite captivating. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think you are just getting to some of the things I'm saying here. You are keeping it very simple. And then it encourages someone to get to know what is this person trying to say in the following paragraphs. The person will be reading this. When I use the word achusu, it's a very personal thing to me. And if you notice, there's details in what I put. I don't just say in the hospital, they were calling me this. I said in St. Elizabeth Hospital. So if you don't know, this is the personal statement I wrote in 2019. It might be outdated. Of course, by now, over time, I can improve this. But I just wanted to show you what got me the Fulbright program, Fulbright scholarship. I was very personal, included the details, kept it short. And then somewhere in the line, I introduced the field of study or what I'm looking to do. So this is to tell you this. Over time that you're writing your personal statement, everything that you talk about should have an objective. You don't just list facts. Like I say, it's not a CV that you're trying to give. I'm saying the story. Someone here can try to relate with me in my story. Richard, please, can you just click the next second example should come up. I wouldn't take time on this here. So this is from someone I picked up online. I'll just read the first sentence. It says, I'm not particularly fond of tea. However, it was while working in the northern regions of Pakistan that I realized that sharing a cup of tea was considered a symbol of gratitude by this hospitable populace, a simple gesture that transcended the commonplace and made our work for the community all the more personal. For several weeks, I shared many cups of coffee beverage while volunteering with the Heritage Foundation. So this kind of preface, it's very personal, it's very storytelling-like. And then he or she links it up to their experience, to demonstrate their leadership, to demonstrate that they volunteer somewhere. And if you had more time to read the rest of the introduction, there they say that they want to do architectural design. So the story led up to what they want to do. So what does the introduction really, what was the place of the introduction? You use an anecdote to show what you are trying to do, but what causes you to want to do, or what causes you to want to pursue that field. And it needs to be a story that no other person can tell. If we went around this world, no other person would say the same story that I said, because that was my story. That's why I said the personal statement is a self-reflection. Please, can you press the next? Thank you. So this is an example of a poor personal statement. Of course, when we are trying to learn, we need to see good examples and then poor examples. The person starts, it is an honor for me to present my candidacy for the Fulbright program. My name is so-and-so. I work as assistant professor in so-and-so. This person has very, very high credentials, but it is so generic in the way they started. and inspired by a childhood in 1900s. I mean, I hope you can just see the person is trying to list their educational background. I'm not really making a point that you will not see. Oh, someone is talking.
Please mute yourself, please. You mute yourself if you have yourself. I can't see the whole screen. I would have muted the person, but I can't see the whole screen.
Thank you. Yeah, so if you look at this, this is an example of a poorly written personal statement. Because we need to know the difference. It speaks a lot. Yeah, the person is listing their credentials, saying that they were top of their class. So the personal statement comes to complement other parts of your application. Nobody needs you to come and list your educational background in order, or I hope it kind of makes sense to you and you're trying to see the direction in which I'm going. Please follow the next slide since we're running out of time. So I'll talk a little bit about the body of your personal statement. Next slide, please. This might be a little bit hard to read. Please feel free to take a screenshot so that you can read it detailedly wherever you are. So what I'm trying to portray in this body is this. There's a continuation to the introduction. This is the same person who wrote about the architectural and engineering. There's a continuation to the story that they mentioned in the earlier paragraph. And their second paragraph is not just saying that, okay, they were in a city somewhere. The person tries to describe that city. So give your audience, when you're writing a personal statement, you have an audience. Give them a little feel of what the experience was. Give just very few details so that it feels natural. It feels like you know what you're talking about. You have felt the experience. And this person uses this paragraph to explain why they are doing the course they are doing, explaining the shortages in Arabia and why they chose to do tackling social issues through environmental approaches. And then the next paragraph comes to show the person's leadership, their involvement in their community out of schoolwork. You see, they talk about elected as vice president. The person does not just come and say, I was the vice president of the Architectural Society and blah, 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 blah. That's not how the person says it. If you look at the approach, during their 5 years, they study fundamental nature and 4 intricacies as a maze that beckoned alluringly to them. And elected them makes a difference, you understand? People in your organization where you spend the 5 years saw you as the leader and chose you to lead them. And the next sentence says that they led them through a certain convention. So if you look at, there's a build-up in what they are writing. It's not just a listing of themselves. It needs to relate to other people that you talk with every day, the people in your community. How does what you do really influence them? So that's your personal statement, your experience at your community and local level, highlighting your strengths, highlighting your leadership. Because the Fulbright program is for ambassadors. They don't want you to come here and be a straight A student. That's not the point of the Fulbright. They need to see someone who is involved in teams, team building, someone who is involved with encouraging others to be their best selves. So this is just to say, every story that the person says, this is not a standard practice for you, like you must follow this approach. I'm just giving this to kind of incite you into thinking and reflecting about your story, reflecting about the places where you have volunteered, reflecting about your leadership positions in your schools. This is a place to talk about them. Reflecting about your hobbies. If you love playing football, how does playing football unite you with your community? How has playing football demonstrated your leadership? And I'll just add to this. When you're writing your personal statement, there's a little bit of research that goes into it. For example, I came to the US to follow up with a public health program. I went online. What are the vital soft skills required in the field of public health? In public health, community engagement, Being able to listen to community communication with those around you is a vital soft skill to my field. So I didn't just go around picking experiences at random. I look at it, what soft skills are required in public health? How do I highlight that I have certain experiences that prepare me to pursue graduate level studies? I hope that makes sense to everyone. Please, next slide. This is just an example of a polywritten. Again, I hope you can already pick out the I, the repeated I's that go on in the whole paragraph. So many I's in them. And then here they are simply listing that they are faculty and this and that, several conferences and seminars intended at raising awareness. So it's really about them and their accomplishments. There's no outward, there's no outreach to the next person. Fulbright is not about you alone. It's about how you use your strengths, how you use your experiences to influence those around you. So everything you are narrating, this is a very competent candidate, I wouldn't lie. They have a very rich background, but that statement doesn't speak to their personality. It doesn't say a story about them, unlike other than what I will see in their CV or in their research statement. Next slide, please. And then in your conclusion, next slide, please. Yes, thank you. This is an example of a polywritten conclusion. If you just glance through very quickly, it's very cumbersome. And it has a lot of English words that do not make sense. I mean, those are big words. I won't discredit that. But there's no need going around bringing a whole dictionary and not making simple. Someone talk about simplicity. It needs to be simple. I mean, you speak correct English, but keep it simple. Keep it experiential. He says, as a visual art student whose work and ideas are often rooted in the metaphors of local folktales, this modernistic iteration of futuristic projections, my contributions to provide a unique cultural perspective and be an asset to any institute that I become part of. It's kind of mechanic. I hope that makes sense to you. The personal statement is, it's a personality. It feels like this person is a very research intense person. I feel like they should bring up all the grammar in the world together. But what are they really trying to say in that sentence? You don't even know you don't know what to pick out from it. And it says, this person highlights that their objective is not even feasible, which is a very poor thing to do in all your essays. You shouldn't be highlighting your weaknesses. The aim is to highlight your strength. If you are talking about your weakness, keep it minimal and then try to shine out of that weakness. You don't just say, oh, because I say, as unrealistic as that may sound at this point, I mean, they just nailed themselves or they shot themselves in the foot. It didn't make sense, in my opinion. So I hope this kind of gives you an example of what not to do. Next slide, please. This is a very simple tool. This is one sentence, but this is a conclusion, really. Of course, you can have more to say. In this case, this person already had like 4 paragraphs in their body and thought to keep their conclusion as simple as possible so that they're not writing too much. It's not how much you write, it's how you communicate your story, really. So this is just a simple conclusion. They don't need to say too much. You can see in a tangible and concrete way what they will do when they are done studying. And this is a very feasible thing that they can do. So please keep it real, keep it natural. That's all I'll say. Last slide, please. Yeah, so we have hit the end of that road that I said I was showing you a roadmap. I know it might still be confusing for some of you, but I just hope you know that you can do it. And this is just my final thoughts, really, like my big brother Nancy said. Please keep to instructions. Second, it's a fluid model. What do I mean by that? What I've shown you, like in terms of this is how you should structure your essays. Just know that there's no one winning structure that you would use. If it means that you need to mention something in your earlier paragraph that affirms or supports what you're trying to say, mention it. But be careful. So just know that these are moving parts, but try to communicate, like the instructions said, your experiences and how that prepares you for your field. And the third point is this, and like Nancy said earlier, write your own and then read others. So read the essays of others. It's not a bad thing to do, to be very sincere with you. You might not know exactly how to go about it, but when you write it first, it's easier for you to correct it. But when you go and start reading other people's own as your prime source of information, I bet you it's going to block you in your head. You will not think freely and you will not think more about what you should say and how to go about it. So please read other people's own and see how they approached it. Last but not least, make drafts, multiple drafts, review and review and review. Thank you very much.
Wow. Nancy, thank you so much. That was a powerful presentation. Thank you so much. I think before I just open up questioning, I will just emphasize one or two things that Nancy mentioned. One of it is narrative. In the prompt, they didn't just put the word narrate for the sake of putting it. Your essay is not a description of your CV. It is a narration. And if you look at the powerful examples that Nancy presented, you would have seen that they are all stories. They're telling stories. And they cannot be two you at the same time. So we are all different and our experiences differ. Even if Nancy and we are in Orlando at the same time and at the same spot, there are things that two of us will do different. And so if we want to put our experiences down in writing, it's going to be completely different. It can never be the same. So that is why the storytelling aspect of it is very, very important. And when you look at the first example that she presented, just the opening statement, miracle child, you see, it is attractive. You want to read more. You want to know, what is this talking about? Because those who are reviewing your application have a pie of application to go through. And sometimes they are bored. But when they pick your application and just the opening of it is so interesting, you get them, you grab their attention. So I want to thank Nancy so much for that. And then again, there was something Nancy made mention of that I just want to be clear of that. She talked about the overuse of the word I. She's talking about you overusing it. She didn't say you should completely ignore it. So people should not go and start killing themselves trying to see how they will not include I in the application, because I'm not sure there is a way you can write a complete personal statement without using I as a word. So you will always use that word. So do not kill yourself trying to eliminate I from your application. What she said was, do not overuse that word, because they want to see how it is a story about a character. And that character did not live in isolation. That character is you. And you did not live in isolation. You lived with people. So they want to see how you bring in all those people around you, and then you pass that information without necessarily making it as if it was you alone. So you need to do that. And then finally, and most importantly, the issue of being emotional. Yes, you can bring in a story that is emotional, but you are not bringing the story to focus on the emotional aspect of it. You're bringing that story to highlight what you learned from that. So the way you write the issue of being emotional could pass a message. There are two people can bring up that emotional story, and one person clearly is trying to attract sympathy, and the other person is trying to use that to show how he or she was able to overcome the challenge and was able to learn something from that challenge. So those are two different things. So it is not like, do not bring anything emotional in it. Bring a story. A story can look like it is emotional, but don't make it emotional. And don't dramatize the situation. Don't make it as if you want to attract sympathy. The Fulbright program is not a program that is there for solidarity or to attack sympathy. They are not sympathizing with anybody. No matter how you dramatize the whole thing, nobody is going to sympathize with you. What they are looking at is they want to see how you were able to overcome those difficult challenges and what lessons you were able to draw from there. So each word you use in your personal statement should be able to pass a very powerful message. Once more, thank you so much, Nancy, for that very powerful presentation. Now we are opening up for questioning, and we have like 5 to 6 minutes to go. So we are opening up for question. If you have questions, you can go ahead and
just 30 seconds.
All right.
One thing too that we should know is that Fulbright, somebody was telling me something that, oh, he attended a meeting like this and then said it is for smart and intelligent people. I say, if you had an average in the university of 10 on 20 in Yaounde, then you are a qualified person to apply for this. Because it is not about how smart or how intelligent you are that you qualify for this. It is just somebody who has a good mindset. If you have a good mindset and the effort you put in trying to make development or changes, that's what makes you a qualified candidate. It is not about intelligence. So, and that is always seen in your personal statement. It is a reflection of your personal statement. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And that's why the personal statement and your study research objective is the most important aspect of your application. It's not all about your application, but they are the most important aspect of the application, because that is what tells them about you. So they are not interested, like he said, with your GPA. They are not interested. So don't think that because you have some A grades in or some GPAs that are how they call it, GPA of 4 and all of that, and so you think that will do the trick. So I see a question on the chat. Oh, all right. All right, James has a word. James, I think James has something to say. James, you have a floor. You can go ahead. Oh, okay. I think he will come. He wants to come in at the end of the day. Yes, I will give you the floor, James. So questions, please. If you have some questions, just raise your hand. We don't have much time. All right, I want to assume that lack of question, people not putting up their hand means that they are very, very okay with what was presented and they do not have anything to ask. Even though my teacher used to tell me that when you don't ask question, it means you didn't understand anything. All right, so yeah, we'll give the floor to James to say what.
Yeah, hello everyone. It's quite a delight to have followed the mentorship session. What is fascinating about mentorship is that each time you listen to people speak, there was lots of things to take back home, even if that you can use for many other programs, not just this one. For instance, one of the programs that we advocate strongly about is the joint Japan World Bank program, which is, as big as the Fulbright program. I want to salute the panelists. I think the content of the presentation has been amazing. I just kept smiling and having a feeling of satisfaction with what I got flowing out. It is not every time we have people like this who dedicate their time to helping others. I love one of the statements that Nancy made, that the Fulbright program is not about yourself. It is about the impact you can create in the community. And that's why you see the mentors, the panelists are burning with passion to see how supportive they can be to you to help you cross that bridge. This is just the first day of a 5-day program. And the person who will benefit most will be the most committed. Take note, these are guidelines for you to figure out yourself, as we made in the message. It is to help you. There are times that you sit down and do some very fascinating work by your own sense of judgment. You think this is so good, but you give somebody, the person will just take and cross it. When you listen to the experts who've made it happen, you have more chances of making it. And again, our educational system in Cameroon is that which there are some elements that the American system of education requires that may not necessarily be highlighted in our educational system. And we listen to people who have actually made it happen. You're able to connect these dots. You get closer to making it. For instance, a couple of years back, it was possible to just get up in the morning and work on a Fulbright application package. But today it is no longer the case. If you sit on your own and work as best as you are, compared to somebody who has been exposed to so much, it is likely that sometimes strategy is key. Connections are key. Getting somebody to help you narrate your story in a more appealing way, those are little things that when you combine, they can play the trick and get you to succeed. So for this first day, it's been such a success. I'm so happy with what happened. In fact, I think the embassy probably should be proud to see us, walking this journey. They're probably proud to see the people who got selected for the program, working hard to see more people make it, not only for this program, but for that program. So we're looking forward to meeting you again tomorrow, same time. Go back home or get back to work, just work and work and work. See how much you can make of this session today. Process your content as best as possible. Reach out to people around you, let them read and make an opinion and have a growth mindset, be open to ideas, and that way you can get the best. And before you know it, tomorrow you are saying, even me that I thought I was the worst, I've made it. And I think Wingo made one statement. Do not look at your GPA. This program has nothing to do with GPA. It's about impact. And those are very important statements. So what do? Just be the best you can, put in the best you can in your application. Thank you all, everyone. And let me pass it back to Obama. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, James, for that encouraging words to the candidate. I just wanted to answer a question that I saw in the chat. Someone was asking if someone who is in the field of agriculture can apply. Oh yeah, you can apply. Fulbright is open to almost every field except for medical doctors. So for any other field, you are eligible to apply. So go ahead and start getting your application ready. Okay, I will be sharing one last video with you, and then we will be rounding up for the day.
Apply for the Fulbright Foreign Student Scholarship Program in USA. The program enables young professionals to study abroad and conduct research in the US. The scholarship is for the master's and PhD programs at the institutions in the USA. The successful recipients of the scholarship will receive a full tuition fee waiver, air-free, stipend, and also health insurance. Students from 155 countries are eligible for the scholarship. Eligibility criteria are different for different nationalities. The interested candidates should check the country-specific website in the official feed. For application, the candidate should contact the Fulbright Commission or US Embassy in their home country. The deadline varies per country but is around February to October annually. The deadline for this program is 30 October 2020. For more information, visit www.oyaop.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay updated.
Right, I'm sure we know that our deadline is May 16th. It is not October 20th. So our deadline is May 16th. So we are having a tight deadline coming up. So thank you so much for everyone who took up time to be part of this session today. And like James said, go back and start working very hard on your application. Use some of the information that you got from here today to improve on your essays if you already wrote your essays. You also try to read through your essays and see if there are certain things that was mentioned here today that you think you made an error with that, and you try to correct all of that. Also, I'll be making all the panelists who presented today the admin in our WhatsApp group, and you can reach out to any one of them to look at your application and give you some feedback. So again, thank you so much. And I want to thank James so much and the Open Dreams family for this wonderful opportunity to help the candidate so that they can submit an outstanding application. Thank you so much, James, for always doing this. And my regards to the Open Dreams family, for which I am part also. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. So tomorrow,
when you talk inside our way, without people like you would not be where we are. Together, we are making it happen. Please, we are making an appeal. Just put on your camera. Let's take a picture before we depart. Just put on your camera.
Okay.
Let's have a broad smile, and then we take some pictures before we depart.
Yeah, put on your camera, please.
Beautiful, beautiful. So tomorrow, we'll be listening more to you, tell us where you find challenges, share experiences in your work, because in mentorship, we are all, we are all in the school. So we want to see a broad smile like somebody looking forward to a better tomorrow, thanks to your engagement with the mentorship. Make the smile broader. That's at 6:50 tomorrow, so that by 7 o'clock we get started. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Yeah, so see you tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.